Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Spotlight. Joining me today is Mr. James Johnson, a licensed clinical social worker, to discuss a few matters regarding mental health. Welcome, James. How's it going?
It's doing well, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and I greatly thank you and appreciate for this special invite. I greatly appreciate it, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Hey, look, I knew I could depend on you when it came to this subject. I've mentioned this to you before. I remember a conversation we had a couple years ago, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
We were discussing various elements of mental health or what have you.
Yes, indeed.
And you just lit up. And I'm like, okay, this brother really enjoys what he's doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, rightfully so. That should go without saying. But, so many people are in, certain careers and they're just in it, right?
Yes.
Just doing what they do. But
absolutely.
On the social work part of things, man, I mean, you really need some folks in there that are going to bring it each and every day because we know how great of a need there is out there.
Absolutely.
So James, tell me though, I don't think I've ever asked you this as long as I've known you. How did you choose mental health? What was it?
Well, good question, Chris. Good question. That's a question I always ask myself, oftentimes ask myself, and the only answer that I can come up with truly is that mental health chose me. This field is quite a unique field, and when I was growing up, my growth and maturation through my childhood and teenage years, my life was focused on medical, being a doctor. Everything was about being, I'm going to be an MD. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. Elementary, junior high, high school, all the way up to my freshman year in college. I started off college pre-med at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, biology major. And I got an internship my first year. I was 18 years old at Maple Shade Youth Center in Salisbury, Maryland, and completely changed my life, my career, and my purpose in life. And I recognized at that point that my purpose in life was not to be an MD or an engineer, but it was to serve others and to support my community in which I was, born and raised, the west side of Baltimore City, and to save our young men and recognize from my personal experiences that you can make it and that it is possible and that the challenges that we are faced with on a day-to-day basis, that we can overcome those challenges and be great as men and be great as women and be great as an African-American community. That's what drove me into the mental health field at that time. And I've been in this field now for 22 years now, solid. Yes, indeed.
22 now. 22
years.
I knew you've been in and around it for a while, but I would have never guessed 22 years. First of all, you don't look old enough to be in a field.
I love it. I'm going to forever try to keep this youth as long as possible. 22 years in the field, 100%.
Wow.
I absolutely love it. And it gets better and better by each year, each day, each obstacle, each challenge that I'm faced with. I love it. And I continue to grow and build. Although 22 years being at this mental health field, it's such a unique field. Everything changes every single day, and every individual is different. Every individual is unique. And it's been a learning curve, and it's been an amazing journey. And the journey just continues on to learn, build, and grow, and support others, and be a servant and serve the purpose that she was placed on this earth to do.
Exactly. So in these 22 years, my man, you said the people, the cases, it changes, is ever evolving, if you will. So
yes, indeed.
In those 22 years, and I know you have several examples.
Yes, indeed. Entirely too many.
but give me one or two situations, ordeals, or however you want to categorize it, that you had to deal with. That really stands out to you. Any one or two in particular?
I can speak just generalize a few things. And most importantly, the avenue in which I got into the mental health field, I think that's a very specific situation that will kind of sort of give, some type of level of context. So when I graduated college in 2002, my first job was at the Board of Child Care in Woodlawn, Randallstown, Maryland. And what I've noticed, it's a group home, it's a facility that houses about 150 youth, at-risk youth, with 75 to 80% being African-American. And what I noticed was me being I was a child care worker at the time. And, the social workers used to come in to provide particular services for these particular youth. Unfortunately, the social workers and the therapists was not of a particular culture or from a particular community that was able to understand these youth that we were providing services for. And the drive that made me getting directly into social work and mental health was the fact that I knew that we needed more Black men to be able to provide services to our young Black brothers and sisters. That became an experience within itself. Just how did I become a licensed clinical social worker? And that drive is an experience all in all. And just being able to be in rooms with, individuals who have no clue what they're doing, who ended up getting these licenses and getting a master's in social work and a license, knew how to pass a test, but didn't know how to provide social work, social services and human service and deal with individuals who has challenges in their lives. They just knew how to read a book and pass the test. And I think that's one of the key examples of what type of experiences I've experienced, those type of experiences, who are working, who's the ones that's guiding us on mental health challenge that we face every day, who's giving us the keys and the direction to get to this ultimate promised land of peace, serenity, and calmness, and actually being able to woosah, understanding how to woosah, that it's okay to woosah, it's okay to cry, it's okay to understand things happen, death, grief, loss, things of that nature, how to cope with those, how to cope with those issues and challenges that we're faced with. And that's ultimately is the biggest experience that I can ever imagine, the experience that got me into mental health as a whole. Now, particularly, it's too many. Every day is a different story.
Hey, man.
It's a different story every day.
I can only imagine.
Absolutely.
And see, look, I told everybody my man gets amped up about this mental health.
I feel myself. I feel it right now. You get a little bit of jitters out, and I feel myself getting comfortable right now.
But look, James, look, I mean, again, we say it all the time in various respected professions, right? Mm-hmm. People, I mean, you see some people in their element, right?
Yes.
And you like, yeah, that's where she's supposed to be, right? Or we need that young brother or that old man, whatever the case may be, in that particular field, because they feel it, they breathe it, they know what they're talking about. And to your points, it's not just someone who knows how to take tests and have a certification, right? Check a few boxes or what have you, but no, they know the theory, the concepts, the principles behind that stuff, and really can get in there and be, just a force, right? In their respective fields.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, man, just to hear it, and I alluded to it earlier, I stated it earlier. I had that conversation with you, and I'm talking about you just lit up. Literally,
it's absolutely everything to me. And I'll oftentimes say, we talk about work and careers, jobs, things of that nature. It has to be a lifestyle. It has to be in you.
Right.
It's not just about a paycheck, but this is actually God's calling for me, that this is where I belong. This is where I need to be. This is where I'm passionate. I have, I get so much joy out of what I do that it's no longer a job. It's my life. It's my passion. And to be able to serve others and to help others become what I like to call great in their own perspective and their own respect. I mean, that's absolutely everything. So you have to have a passion for your job. It's not just a career. It's not just a job. This is my life. And my life. You have to understand your life. What's your purpose? What's your calling? And what are you doing to support the individuals who, you was called to serve?
Right. So I hadn't thought to pose this question to you, but And I'm kind of jealous right now. I should be sipping on some wine too, but that's okay. That's okay. After this segment is over,
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of that. And oh, by the way, now I'm putting some of our business out there, right? The next time I'm in our neighborhood,
yes, indeed,
we need to make sure we kind of get together.
Let's make sure that.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
right now.
And take care of our own mental health.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That is everything.
There's several ways to go about it, to do it, or what have you, right?
Yes.
But man, just seeing you in action, James, and
yes,
just hearing these stories about what you've endured, and these are conversations we've had years ago.
Yes, indeed.
And
yes, indeed.
it's just refreshing. Now,
yes.
I do want to segue here. So, on the flip side of things, there are, and I know these people personally. Let me be clear. I know countless people,
yes,
who don't really understand mental health. They don't
100%.
believe that. No, they like literally do not believe there's a such thing as mental health. Or let me restate that a little bit. Or they associate mental health or issues tied to mental health, right, to some type of dire disability. Like
crazy. I'm not crazy.
No, okay. So I wanted the professional to use the word. They associate it with someone's crazy, someone who's walking down the street with no freaking shirt on, no shoes on. Can you talk to that? What would you tell that person to not say convince them that is real, right, but what words would you impart to that brother or sister?
A good question, Chris. Wonderful question, actually. And that is a challenge that's faced in our community every single day, 100%. To start off, it's kind of it can be a broad statement, it can be a broad definition of what mental health is, but let me just try to break it down to those who maybe, lack generalized understanding. I would say mental health for dummies type thing. First and foremost, we have the word, it's two words in mental health. Of course, you have mental, you have health. Everyone know what a mental is. Everyone know your mental is your mind. Health is health. You have two types of health. You have physical health, which is, you go to the doctor, you get a cut, you get a sore, you get a fever. That's your physical body. But you have another type of health, which is your mental health. Your mental health is your mind. Your mind is everything. It's literally two sides to health, mental and physical. Everyone has mental health. Everyone on the planet Earth has mental health. Everyone, no matter what, no matter who. We sometimes wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Sometimes we have to take a test, or going for a driver's license or a traffic court ticket or something like that. We have anxiety. We have ambivalence. Sometimes we just don't feel like getting out of the bed. We have a slight case of depression, or you just feel depressed or feel low or feel down, or we suffer for grief, loss. Those are mental health challenges that everyone is faced with. The issue comes about, particularly in the African American community, is they don't understand mental health is just everyone has it. It's just, sometimes you feel good, sometimes you don't. But then you have mental health disorders, and a mental health disorder is not necessarily, it's a mental health. Everyone has mental health, but sometimes it's just like you can have a disorder. You can have 6 toes. That's a disorder. Routine, typical people have 5 toes. If you have 6, now you have a disorder. Order is something that's usual, something that's average, something that everyone typically does. Now, when you think about mental, it's just now your train of thought becomes different from what normal society rules. So if normal society say you should go to school 12 years and get a high school diploma and then go to college. Someone that may have a mental health disorder would not believe those societal norms and have their own personal perspective, which is now considered disorder. So you have mental health, disorder. You can have orderly, you have disorder, and one thing about the mental health field that most people lack the knowledge of is everyone has mental health. And mental health need to be treated just as important as any physical health, any physical remedy. You have to take care of your mind. Your mind runs everything, your mind and your heart, of course. We're not talking about the heart, let's focus on the mind. And the mind can have you thinking
Got it.
really, really, really extracurricular things, and particularly if you have a disorder, which essentially means that something is off, something may not have been addressed at maybe a time of your life through your maturation of life. You know, and something may be stuck at a particular time, and now your mind frame is not able allowing you to go forward, or your disorderly way of thinking is giving you ambivalence to certain tactics, or looking at other people's lives or what other people's doing. Now you're getting this anxiety that's not allowing you to move forward. And that's where you get to disorder. Everyone has that. Everyone, no matter how you look at it, white, black, tall, small, male, female, young, old. Ultimately, it's about how do you deal with certain challenges that you faced in life. That's where we, as a Black community, kind of sort of fall short, because we don't understand. We all have mental health, and oftentimes we have challenges that we are faced with that ultimately results from our mental health being distorted in some form of fashion. Whether it just be a breakup with a spouse, whether it be a death, whether it be loss of a job, or even having too much success can lead to a mental health disorder. You know, too much success can lead to depression,
so James,
and ambivalence. Yes.
Hey,
you know,
James, that flip side of the coin that you just touched on, you know, the successful people and all of the things and stuff that comes along with success.
Yes.
Oh, they can lead to a litany of issues, problems, whatever.
Too many, far too many clients I've seen over my the life of my career. Certified, rich, wealthy. You know, they have a different set of problems, but it ultimately results in the same level of mental health. Depression is depression. Anxiety is anxiety. Generalized anxiety disorder is generalized anxiety disorder. No matter how or what. If you're going into a situation, no matter how rich, wealthy, successful you are, if you're still going into a situation and have some type of level of ambivalence, that still is your mental health. That's your mental health. How serious your ambivalence gets can then put you in a state of clinical mental health impairment. And that's where ultimately a lot of individuals don't understand. You have mental health, but do you have an opportunity that your mental health can be clinically impaired? That's when you get to a mental health disorder, because something that's going on with you is not normal. Your way of thinking is not right, shall I say. It's not the typical. And now it's to a point where it's affecting your life. And it's affecting your life to a point where your activities of daily living gets minimized. It gets minimized because of whatever you're going through, whether it be hereditary or something that was developed over time. It's something that's distorting you from being able to live your life in a normal, typical fashion as everyone else is doing, or what the norm say is done. And that's where we get to mental health. You know, mental health disorders.
Mental health disorders.
Yes. Mental health is mental health. It's mental health awareness. And the only thing you have to be aware is that you have a mental health. Just like we have a physical health. We have a primary care doctor, but we are hesitant to get a primary therapist, someone just to talk to about our day-to-day life. Why are we going to have a primary doctor? I'm going to forward it.
Hold on. No. That right there. That's good. That's good. I know. I know. You know.
Yes.
Be it tied to your job or not.
Yes.
I know several people who have their mental health checkups, if you will, quite often.
Yes.
And I used to think, okay, full disclosure. I used to be like, man, what's wrong with him? Or she doesn't seem like anything is wrong with her. No, Chris, you're missing it.
Yes.
In part, that's why nothing does not appear to be out of order.
Exactly.
Because they are aware, they are adept to what's going on. They have accepted, right, that they have certain things going on that may need certain types of attention at certain times.
Yes.
And guess what, Chris? There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
Even though the world that I'm from, we used to associate it.
Absolutely. Right?
So we have all of this misinformation, disinformation, and just all of this information going through our airwaves that is just feeding us totally. That's just not providing the nourishment that we need, and is adversely impacting us because it's in essence doing the complete opposite of what these folks are seeking their professionals to do.
Absolutely.
So you just touched on all of that, right? So I got to go here, and I'm gonna get ready to close this thing out because I can keep you here talking about this for a while.
Go because I'm starting to get into my groove right now.
Look, man, we can continue to talk, and for the record, we will circle back another time.
Absolutely.
But anyway, what? And again, I just said you just touched on a few of these. What recommendations would you have? Would you tell someone to do to stay aware and abreast of their mental health proper, if you will?
100%. Great question. And I have to start off by it's one word, one little saying, one little blurb.
Okay.
And this is everything. This is everything for, I believe, every single human being. And it's called coping. Coping strategies, coping mechanisms, coping skills, coping, whatever you want to put, whether it's coping strategy, skill, whatever have you. It's about the ability to cope, and finding what allows you to cope or deal with life's challenges, whether it be something temporary or something long term. It's about how do you cope. Again, one of my biggest things is I think everyone needs a therapist. Everyone needs someone to talk to that's been unbiased, non-judgmental, and you're able to let off some steam and be able to vent and discuss certain situations that's on your mind that maybe your homegirl they may judge, or your spouse may judge, or it may be about your spouse that's leading you into a mental health disorder. So to have someone to talk to, whether it actually can be a friend, a family member, or something like that. I know in the Black community, men usually go to other men and say, hey, let's go have a drink. She pissing me off, or something like that, or let's go have a drink. Typically, and women go on, you go on vacations, you go on staycations, it's about coping. What makes you cope? What makes you go on? What is your happy place? What is the niche that's going to have you bring yourself back to whatever you're dealing with? Let me bring it back to normality. Some people read books, listen to music, just driving them around the block sometimes. But I believe ultimately it starts with being able to understand that you have to cope with whatever challenges that get brought to you. That's what mental health is all about. Coping with the challenges that bring you to this certain level. But then you have that second component, which is the disorderly piece. And that's when you have to seek professional help. Because now you're at a point where you're not able to bring yourself back into normality by yourself. You need that support from others. You can most of us, 95% of the mental health disorderly community can actually be able to self-cope and seek strategies without having to go extracurricular, doing that extracurricular activities. But once you get diagnosed or you feel you're at a place of incapacity, that now your job is affected, your money, your bills. Now, yes, how do you deal with it? Seek help. Talk to someone, talk to a professional, talk to an individual. And it's one thing about therapists, and the word therapist is so, it's people look at that word and they get scared. That's how you get oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. I get it. A therapist is no one but someone to talk to you and help you find out strategies and ways to deal with whatever you got going on.
Wow.
That's it. That's all a therapist is.
That's it.
Someone to understand, to listen to you, hear you, and then maybe give suggestions or recommendations on how can you overcome these particular challenges. That's all a therapist is. Sometimes we find a therapist in our pastors, we find it in our spouse, our husbands, our wives, our best friends, things of that nature. It's somewhere where you can put yourself out there without being judged and being able to get provided feedback, and someone that's going to follow up and hold you accountable to your feedback. You know, so that's where individuals, they hear therapists like, I'm not crazy. No one said you were crazy. And unfortunately, what happened was in the 70s, 80s, whatever have you, you had individuals who had a particular mental health disorder that maybe a schizophrenic, maybe a bipolar, maybe, you know, had a personality disorder that allowed them to have multiple personalities and things of that nature. And that's what people associate mental health with. But those are just 1, 2, 3 disorders out of 400 or 500 disorders. Wow. And that's where we get it so twisted in the Black community. Just because you don't have to be schizophrenic. Those are the crazies, what they consider as crazy. They're not crazy. They have schizophrenia. They have a mental health disorder. Bipolar. You have bipolar. You're not crazy. You have bipolar. And then it's about dealing with it and how to best deal with it. That's going to benefit you personally. Because if it may work for someone, this may work for this person, but that may not work for you.
Absolutely.
Let me just say, I am not opposed as a Black man from the inner city, born and raised. I am not opposed to medication. I am not. Okay. I don't like to medicate our young brothers and sisters at 6 and 7, 8 years old.
Right.
But if you have bipolar disorder, or you are hallucinating, seeing things, hearing things, voices. Back in the day, you so crazy. Do you hear that, man? It says kill 4 people. Remember that? Remember that? Now, you know, a consistent therapy regimen and a consistent medication regimen with your psychiatrist, things of that nature will help. So how do you cope? Finding what works for you. And sometimes you need that support from others, from a professional, to find out what works for you. And so oftentimes professionals, sometimes they do dig deep because you want to find the root cause of why you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with. But the main thing is from where you're at now and what you're dealing with, how do we move forward? We can talk about the past to find root causes, but it's about moving forward. What do you need to move forward? Do you need a friend? Do you need a girlfriend? Do you need to go? You need to go-kart race. You need to lift weights. You need to. Unfortunately, in the Black community, we self-medicate. That's the problem. We drink, we smoke, and now we got a young crowd that's popping them perks and things that they self-medicating, and that's just not a healthy coping mechanism to become safe and healthy and provide a decent life for you and your family.
So James,
I can go. I can keep going.
I can keep listening.
Yes,
and I know a slew of folks who would thoroughly enjoy this and would continue to listen as well.
Yes, indeed.
So, having said all of that, you're gonna have to come back.
Yes, indeed.
And
absolutely.
This is going to be one of those continue kind of thing. So seriously, because there's so much information, there's so much to share, and quite frankly, I mean, our community, respective communities in certain areas, we need it, and some way more than others. So look, James, my brother, I cannot thank you enough for imparting all of that professional first-hand information.
Yes, indeed.
Look, man, it edified me. Thanks for hitting on all of those high points. And
yes, indeed.
I would probably say most importantly, for kind of, addressing the misnomers, addressing part of that stigma around mental health and laying it out and breaking down the words and explaining them.
Yes, indeed. We have to eradicate that notion of what individuals feel mental health is, what they feel it is, instead of recognizing what it actually is. What is the facts? Not opinions, but facts. And the facts is not that it's a part of our regular everyday life. We need to normalize mental health, seeking help, being accountable for our actions, and doing something so we can become better individuals long term.
My man. On that note,
yes,
we're gonna leave it right there until the next time.
Yes,
I gotta thank you again, man.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate the invite.
I enjoy it. Yes,
and I feel very honored and blessed that you actually value my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an LCSW-C therapist. So I don't write books and things of that nature. But I appreciate that you value my opinion. And I cannot wait for you to invite me back on so we can continue this conversation.
Absolutely. And you heard me, James, you could write that book, but we'll leave that there too.
We're gonna channel that. We're gonna channel that. I definitely
there you go.
I had a thought now. It's still in thought stage.
Okay. That's okay. We'll leave it right there.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks, my brother. I'm gonna be talking to you really soon, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right, James.
It's a pleasure, good brother.
All right, man. Everybody, that was Mr. James Johnson. Look, breaking it down, breaking it out for us. I really hope it informed you and inspired you in some way. I know it did for me. As always, take care out there, and thanks for supporting lifewriting.com, where writing speaks.